everyone, what's going on? Christopher, the video game historian here, and before I begin with this video, I just wanted to apologize for the lack of uploads recently. With the lockdown currently going on and stay-at-home orders during this crisis, I thought I would have some more free time to work on videos and put more stuff out there, but unfortunately that hasn't been the case. I've been working from home and that has been eating up a lot of my free time, as there's a lot of things I need to get done. On top of that, for much of April, I've been feeling very depressed, anxious, and stressed, mainly from being locked in my apartment. While I'm still able to go out and get necessities, it has been difficult for me mentally, as not seeing any of my friends has really taken its toll on my mental health, to the point where I had not even had any motivation to play anything, be it Battlefield, Modern Warfare, or any single-player games, much less work on scripts and videos. Part of me debated on whether I should even keep my channel active or simply close it down. But for whatever reason, I began to see a lot of new subscribers start to find my channel and begin following me. And believe it or not, that has given me the inspiration I needed to keep on going and to keep working on my channel. I absolutely appreciate the constant support I seem to be getting from all of you out there, and I can't thank you all enough. This year really hasn't been the best year for me, and to be honest, this past month and a half has been extremely difficult. But seeing all the support does mean a whole lot to me, so I thank you all from the bottom of my heart. I will be trying to work on videos more consistently going forward, but that may be difficult considering the topic of this particular video. Now, as I'm sure many of you have heard from Flakfire, Danny, Westy, Teabag, Demolition Ranch, TFB TV, AdAtChat, wait, hang on, no, I'm sorry, that's my subscription list. As I'm sure many of you have heard from Flakfire, Danny, Westy, Teabag, Get Good Guy, Lossy, Rogue Monkey Jr., etc., and many other Battlefield YouTubers out there, DICE is canceling their support for Battlefield 5 with a final update in June. Now, I won't go into the details about that, and I'm not going to put my opinion out there, because honestly, if you've seen any video from the channels that I mentioned, they all seem to echo my own opinions. And it makes no sense for me to put mine out there when it is honestly going to be nothing new. So instead, I wanted to create this video taking a look at the content Battlefield 5 has received over the last 17 months and how it all compares to previous games. More specifically, how the content of Battlefield 5 compares to Battlefield 1 and Battlefield 4. Since 1 is the most recent game out there before 5, and 4 has been the community's favorite for the last 7 years now. So that's why I won't be including Battlefield 3, Hardline, or any other game in the series in this comparison list. Now for this comparison, I will be taking a look at a few aspects from the different games, those being maps, weapons, both primary and sidearms, armored vehicles, so just tanks and aircrafts. I'm not going to be looking at transport vehicles for this video, as well as game modes and gadgets, both class gadgets and melee weapons. For those interested in a full list of aspects that I compared from game to game, there is a link to a Google Docs spreadsheet in the description below, and I do recommend taking a look at that. The list is incomplete as I don't have Battlefield 3, Hardline, or a few other games in that list, but it does include Battlefield 1, 4, and 5, as well as 1942. So go take a look at that. Anyway, enough talking, let's get into the actual comparisons. I will be breaking down each game individually as opposed to going from one category to the next, and to start I'll be looking at the oldest game of the three, Battlefield 4, then Battlefield 1, and finally ending with Battlefield 5 to see how it all compares to the older two. So let's get started. Battlefield 4 was released in October 2013 and the first game of the series to be on current generation consoles. The game came with 10 maps, 64 primary weapons, 13 sidearms, 11 armored vehicles such as tanks and IFVs, and remember I'm not taking into account transportation vehicles at all for the list, along with 15 aircraft vehicles. The game also had 10 game modes, 29 class specific gadgets, and 9 melee weapons. Within the first 12 months it received 5 DLC drops, those being China Rising, Second Strike, Naval Assault, Dragon's Teeth, and Final Stand. Nearly 2 years after the game's initial release, it would receive its last piece of DLC support with Community Operations. In those 24 months of support, an additional 23 maps were added to the game, though some were remakes of older maps from Battlefield 2 and 3, as well as an additional 23 primary weapons and 3 sidearms. Only one new tank or IFV was added, which was the HT-95 Levkov, as well as only one additional piece of aircraft, which was a bomber. 5 additional game modes were added as well, which included air superiority, capture the flag, chain link, gun game, and carrier assault, while only 6 new class gadgets were released. Battlefield 4 did not receive any new melee gadgets, though there was the Icicle in Final Stand that was a pickup item similar to the wine bottle in Battlefield 1, but for this list I am not including any pickup weapons or anything like that. And so in total, by the time support was dropped for Battlefield 4, the game had 33 maps, 87 primary weapons, 16 sidearms, 12 armored vehicles or IFVs, 16 aircraft vehicles, 15 game modes, 35 class gadgets, and 9 melee weapons. For many in the community, Battlefield 4 still stands as the king of content and how support for a Battlefield game should be. Now let's move on to Battlefield 1. Battlefield 1 was released in October of 2016, and included in the full game were 9 maps, 30 primary weapons, and these numbers do not include the various variants that each gun had, 18 sidearms, 4 tanks, 10 different aircraft models seen in 3 different aircraft classes, as well as 6 game modes, 19 different class gadgets, and 17 melee weapons. And if you bought the deluxe edition, you also got 2 additional melee weapons in the Hellfire Bolo knife and the Jambia knife. Like Battlefield 4, Battlefield 1 received 4 DLC drops in 16 months, with They Shall Not Pass, In the Name of the Tsar, Turning Tides, and Apocalypse. Even though Apocalypse was the last big DLC drop for the game, DICE didn't stop supporting it right away and continued to release new weapons and a few new melee gadgets for the community afterwards. In total, Battlefield 1 received 22 new maps, though 2 of those were exclusive to the Air Assault mode, as well as 26 additional primary weapons through the DLC, and technically 2 new weapons in post-DLC content for a total of 28. Now DICE did give us new variants of existing weapons, but since they are variants, they do not get included in the total number of weapons. In addition, the DLC and post-DLC content gave us 4 new sidearms, plus a variant of the M1911, but again, not counted since it is a variant. 4 new tanks or armored vehicles were added as well as 3 new aircrafts, although only one of them is a completely new class, that being the Ela Murromet. 4 new game modes were added as well, one was each DLC, those being Frontlines, Supply Drop, Conquest Assault, and Air Assault. Battlefield 1 also only added 2 new class gadgets to the game, along with a slew of melee weapons, somewhere around the number of 27. All in all, Battlefield 1 has a total of 31 maps, 58 primary weapons, 22 sidearms, 8 tanks or armored vehicles, 13 different planes, or 4 depending on if you want to count different plane models or classes, 10 game modes, 21 class gadgets, and 44 melee weapons. And finally, let's take a look at Battlefield 5 and the content that we got for it over the last 17 months. Battlefield 5's initial launch was supposed to be in October of 2018, but was delayed so DICE could work on some improvements and released officially in November. At launch, the game had 8 maps, 30 primary weapons, 7 sidearms, 9 tanks or armored vehicles, and 10 aircraft, along with 6 game modes, 16 class gadgets, and 11 melee weapons, 3 of which could be unlocked by playing through the single-player war stories. Now, unlike the rest of the games in the series, Battlefield 5 was the first to take a live service approach for its content, promising that the community would receive free new weapons, maps, vehicles, and gadgets throughout its life in their Tides of War live service. In total, Battlefield 5 received 6 chapters worth of content, plus the yearly Battlefest, which in all gave us 12 new maps, though this number does include Provence and Lofton Islands, which are only available for the small game modes, as well as Halvoy, which is only available for Firestorm, as well as 33 new primary weapons, 2 new sidearms, 6 new tanks, technically 7 new pieces of aircraft, though again, the Colibri helicopter is only available in Firestorm, as well as 3 new class gadgets, not including the katana and flamethrower pickups, as I didn't include these in the other games, and 11 new melee weapons. Technically, we did receive more melee weapons, but since they are locked behind the elite classes, I did not include them since they are not available for free. As for game modes, this is where it gets a little bit tricky. See, Battlefield 5 released with 6 game modes, but due to UI restrictions and DICE not having the tech, in order to add a new mode or playlist, an existing one has to be removed. As a result, many of the game modes we got were limited time modes available for only a week or two before being removed. Not only that, but both Frontlines and Domination, which launched with the game, were shortly removed from it, with DICE citing a lack of population for those modes. So what did we exactly get for Battlefield 5 in terms of new game modes? Well, in total, we got 6 new game modes to play, those being Squad Conquest, Firestorm, Grind, Rush, Outpost, and Fortress, with the last 4 being limited time modes. This leaves us with 12 modes altogether, 6 being permanent, while 5 became limited time modes, and 1, being Domination, never seeing the light of day again. And so in total, adding all that new content to the base game, we got 20 maps, or if you use DICE logic and count Halvoy as 10 maps, then we technically have 30 new maps, 63 primary weapons, 9 sidearms, 15 tanks, 17 aircraft vehicles, 12 game modes, half of which were limited time modes, 19 class gadgets, and at least 22 melee weapons for free. And as we can see, when compared to both Battlefield 4 and 1, Battlefield 5 doesn't exactly shine in any aspect, and as a whole, not only shipped with less content, but delivered less content through its free Tides of War service. Sure, it had more weapons in total than Battlefield 1, but at the same time, had 18 of the same guns as Battlefield 1, and at least 10 less maps. Though even Battlefield 1 fell short of Battlefield 4 when it came to both maps and weapons. Now, it is rumored that Battlefield 5 will give us one more map with the June update, but this map is one that was originally meant for the scrapped 5v5 mode and will most likely be available only on the smaller game modes, and it's unsure whether or not we will receive any new weapons during this update as well. And so, I have to ask, was a free live service worth it in the end? Was it worth waiting weeks, if not months, between small content drops to receive a free weapon or a free map? Or was premium service better, giving us more content but having to wait, at times, months between the drops? Both systems have their pros and cons, and a live service game can work, but is it worth it? Let me know in the comments below, and if you enjoyed this long video, please leave a like and subscribe to my channel. Until next time, I may or may not see you on the battlefield.